Welcome in to a very special Anthem Forum podcast. I'm your host, Matt Stopsky. I should probably change my fucking name on the thing on the video because it's the first time ever I am having my brother on, Joe Stopsky. So just having Stopsky on there doesn't really make sense. If you're listening audio only, you're very, very confused. What the fuck's he talking about? But if you're watching on video on YouTube, you at least understand the predicament we're in. Joe, it is fucking I can't believe it's the first time we're actually doing this where we're talking on a podcast together.
Dude, it's a pleasure though. Honestly, it's the first time ever. I love listening to your stuff. So when you asked me to come on, well, I was a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie to you. I know ball, but I was just really a little nervous.
Listen, I know you know ball, and then you came out with the nice background, the city of Dallas behind you. I got my couch and domesticated apartment here. But
Looking
bro.
couch.
Yeah, it's a good looking couch. It's a new couch, so it's nice. But let's hop right into it. I didn't record one for Wednesday, so we're gonna do a nice little extra long one for Thursday. Let's get into the first few things here. Now, us both being New York Giants fans, growing up in New York or around New York, Saquon Barkley leaves, which was painful anyway. But Saquon Barkley going to the Philadelphia Eagles, what was your take on Barkley going to Philly?
I mean, immediately thought was just I felt betrayed right away, but at the same time, after some time went by, I understood it. Guy got his bag. Probably his last big contract he'll get. So I understand it. I just at the time when it happened, I was like, "Are you kidding? Philly? You could have gone anywhere you wanted. I would have bought your jersey more than likely." But now being in Philly, it's gonna be a pretty tough room for him. But I'm happy he got his bag because he deserved it, definitely.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like I was actually really hopeful we could bring him back. I didn't think the running back market was going to be that strong, and I don't think it was. You look at the Barkley contract; it wasn't like it was a crazy contract. It's backloaded, which I think is a little odd. I know the Eagles do that a lot, but that doesn't seem smart for a running back who's already like on the back nine of his career. But listen, listen. The Eagles fought themselves. That's great for us. I was happy. I was happy he got his paycheck. I'm happy it didn't come from the Giants. Not only do we not want Joe Shane to spend a ton of resources on a running back when we just in general, but with the Giants still being kind of cash strapped, they can't afford to do that. And I'm gonna miss Saquon Barkley. He was a great running back and a great ambassador for the New York Giants. But yeah, I just wish it was anyone but the Eagles or the Cowboys.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing too. Anywhere else, when I saw Houston, I was like, perfect. Go to Houston.
I would have rooted for him all to the playoffs. And like, get your ring, dude. But the Eagles, man, I hope you win 3 games.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the Giants aren't Saquon Barkley away. We never really were, honestly, even when they drafted him. So it didn't really make sense drafting him in the first place. I think he got a lot of heat from that too.
And unjustly, right? Like it wasn't his fault. He didn't pick himself to go to. That was Gettleman, and we've had discussions at length about Dave Gettleman in terms of like not understanding player value, understanding player evaluation. Like Saquon Barkley, is a good running back, no fucking doubt, but like not understanding that you don't take a running back at 2. That's not on Saquon. That's not on Gettleman. That's on Dave.
Right. I mean, he was a generational running back in Penn State, so I understood it. It would have made sense for a team that needed a running back that was a running back away. But that New York Giants team, we had a second overall pick for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So
we're pretty bad.
Yeah. So I don't think running backs really going to change that much.
No, and it didn't. Shocker. Can't believe it didn't change it that much. Now it's the Giants are starting over with at running back. They have Devin Singletary. So again, I was kind of hoping it would be a swap. We get Devin, the Texans get Barkley. That's not how it worked out.
Yeah.
The Giants look I've been talking about this on the pod for the last few weeks now. And I even talked about with John Schmelk of the New York Giants, my boss. I've been really impressed with what Joe Shane's done this offseason. We're going into the draft, not a ton of holes. Like, is there room for upgrade? Yeah, almost across the entire board, there's room for upgrade, right? Like out besides like edge,
right?
Or there's like that's the only spot where you're like, no, we're really good at ed. We're fine there. Everywhere else, it's open, right? But there's not a spot like with Tennessee, right? Where like if Tennessee rolls out right now, like there's 4 linemen on the field that they need a lineman, right? And I got some shit on that about from TikTok the other day, where they're like, oh man, like you just not gonna mock anyone besides alt to Tennessee. I'm like, no, are you guys gonna sign a 5th fucking lineman? Like, do that first, and then I'll mock somebody else, right? Like it's the same thing with there have been a few the Raiders like only have like 3 linemen. Like they're taking a lineman. Like not only that, they're also walking with no quarterback. Like there are some teams that really fuck themselves. The Giants have a quarterback, right? Even if DJ isn't ready to go week 1, Drew Lock can start.
Right.
They're good at running back in terms of first round talent. They have 5 offensive linemen that can start, and like legit offensive linemen that can start between Thomas and Runyon and John Michael Schmitz and Illuminor and Neal. Whatever your opinion of Neal is, but those are 5 starting quality offensive linemen. Outside of Andrew Thomas, the other 4 are okay or decent. Andrew Thomas being the outlier of like true all pro level tackle. And then receiver, you're thinking Darius Slayton. They just got Isaiah Hodgins back.
Wando was looking great.
Wando looks really good.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with Hyatt, and they got McKenzie. So like they have like enough guys where you're like, all right, if they walk out week 1, and even in tight end, with Daniel Bellinger behind a possible retiring Darren Waller, like you're gonna have a starting 11, right? Like you're not walking out with like 10 dudes. So they're sitting at 6, and they can be like, let's see who falls, right? Because someone is gonna fall, right? Because I know you've seen this. JJ McCarthy being talked about as a number 2 overall prospect now, which just like, I don't want to badmouth JJ too much in case he goes to the New York Giants, because I think there's a legitimate possibility of that. And if he is, we're deleting this podcast. But
I don't think he makes it past 2. I really don't think so.
No, I think so. I think he doesn't make it past 3.
I hope so.
So I've talked to a lot of people about this recently, and they think the him to Washington is bullshit. But the JJ to New England is real, and JJ Minnesota is real. So I think but so we're both Michigan fans. So you went to Coastal Carolina, so you're a Coastal fan first. I didn't go to a football school. I went to Plattsburgh, which has hockey. But like we grew up in a Michigan family, right? Like with our aunts and uncles going to Michigan and our cousins going to Michigan. That was the only D1 program we cared about in the family. So we watched JJ McCarthy play ball a lot. And I could tell you, I never felt comfortable with him taking a fucking dropping back and throwing the ball. Like never. There was never a time where when he threw the ball where I was like, oh God, like this is like
the family game.
Oh dude. Like there's like when Eli Manning on that run in I think it was 2011, where he was just fucking slinging it.
Yeah.
When third down, whatever, I didn't care. Like Eli's got this. Like he was clicking, right? Whenever Eli took a drop back, you're like, I feel good.
Right.
When JJ hits a drop back, I'm like, oh fuck. and then you see him throw to the sideline, you're like, oh God, like he's gonna fucking leave this ball inside, or it's gonna fucking float.
That's
how rough.
Yeah.
And now he's being talked about as number 2 overall quarterback, which is just like a number 2 overall pick, which like I don't see it. Like I need to go back and rewatch. Like in my initial walkthrough, he was my fourth quarterback. But I will say, talking to people, Drake May is falling.
Yeah.
Drake May is not going at 3. I've talked to enough people now where I feel pretty confident Drake May is not going at 3.
Yeah. I've seen that. I see that all over Twitter. I mean, granted, you have a lot more sources. Twitter's Twitter, or X nowadays, whatever. I saw that, and I think that's crazy. I mean, yeah, was this year a little bit of a step back? Sure, I guess. But, I mean, if Drake May is there at 6 for the Giants, and the Giants draft him, I would be more than happy to have him on the team.
Me too. I absolutely would love. I also think that'd be the best spot for Drake May. Let him come in and not to play right away, because Daniel Jones is starting for the New York Giants if he's healthy week 1. Like, it's just Schmelk said that in the podcast. If he is healthy week 1, Daniel Jones is starting for the New York Giants, and I fully believe that.
Absolutely.
Even if they draft a quarterback, and they should. No, they should roll with him week 1, and then week 7, week 8, week 9, you roll in Drake May,
right?
Or JJ McCarthy. But again, I really do not think JJ McCarthy is getting to 6. So I think McCarthy is one that's moved up. I really don't love it. Malik Nabers had his pro day today and was a fucking freak. Yeah, I will say his projected 40 at one point was 4.5, and then it was projected 4.4, and then he comes out with a fucking 4.35 today, which is just. Now I know recency bias. Everyone's saying like, "Oh, Marvin, like he's better than Marvin Harrison."
No shot.
No, he's not. Like, he's not better than Marvin Harrison. He's just not. There was never a time that I thought Malik Nabers was better than Marvin Harrison.
No.
Even though I'm not the biggest Marvin Harrison Jr. fan. Like, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is very good. I think he's an all-pro level player with like a good ceiling, but he's not Calvin Johnson. He's not Andre Johnson. Like I don't even grade him as high as I did Jamar Chase coming out. Like,
right.
He's a tier below those guys. But I do think that this pro day that Malik Nabers has had, I think now makes the gap between Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and Malik Nabers almost, it's so small it doesn't even matter at this point. Now it's a styles make fight. Like you're just whichever player you feel fits your team better. I don't think there's a bad option here. I think they all have all pro level ceilings. It's doubtful that all 3 become all pro level receivers, right? Because you only get 4 or 5 all pro spots. So you're saying that 3 guys are just become all pros? Like, it's just not possible. No. Which is something that we'll touch on in a second. But I feel pretty good about it. If any of those receivers fall to the New York Giants, I would be happy with any 3 of them. And I think there's a situation where that's going to happen. Like, the question is, does Malik Nabers pass the Chargers, which I know the popular opinion is Joe Alt to the Chargers or the Chargers trading back, but it's a rookie GM. I think he's going to want to make his pick. Yeah. And also, Quentin Johnson and Joshua Palmer, that's your 2 guys you're rolling out with. I don't care how much of a run game guy Jim Harbaugh is. He's gonna look at 4 clips of Quentin Johnson and go, that dude has fucking bricks for hands, and I can't send Justin Herbert out with him at receiver 1. And I know he wants to run the ball and he wants to control the clock, but in today's NFL, you need to be able to score 30 points on any given Sunday. You're not scoring 30 points with fucking Quentin Johnson at receiver 1. You're just not. No.
I mean, dude, he dropped wide open passes last year for touchdowns, wide open down the seam. I saw it right through the hands.
Well, he did in college too. It wasn't something it wasn't like a yips or something. He did that in college. So that is whatever. But I do want to talk real quick about we talk about the chances of all 3 of those receivers becoming all pros is so unlikely. It's because there's only a limit of all pro spots.
Right.
When we talk about, mainly it happens with quarterbacks, right? It's oh, this quarterback, man, this quarterback is going to be the next guy. This is it. He's going to be all pro. He's going to be a top 5 quarterback, right? That's a fair one. Oh, this is a top 5 quarterback.
Right.
And my response is always all right, so who are the top 5 that's right now are you replacing with said dude, right? That's my response with Caleb Williams, right? People are like, oh, Caleb Williams, top 5 quarterback. Okay. Who in the top 5 right now are you replacing with Caleb Williams? Even doesn't be this year, but year 2 or 3, which of these guys that are currently top 5 are you replacing with Caleb Williams? And that's the same question I had with Trevor Lawrence, which is why I never called Trevor Lawrence top 5 quarterback. I was like, Trevor Lawrence is not, right? Like, maybe he will be one day, but like at the same time, though,
potentially coming out not right away, but over years, yeah.
Well, but here's the problem, right? Like, no, we're also assuming because when Trevor came out, it was like, all right, well, Aaron was still playing. Well, he is still playing, but Aaron was like at the top of his game. Patrick was playing, is playing still. Tom was playing. Lamar was coming off of MVP not too long before that. Like the top 5 was like Joe Burrow was looking pretty good. Like it was a pretty secure top 5, and then you're like, well, you know what, Tom's gonna retire. Like you're saying that there's no other quarterback coming out in any future drafts that's gonna surpass Trevor Lawrence. So like it's, but with Caleb, but although the conversation really should be more for receivers, right? It's like, no, if you're saying like, no, Marvin Harrison Jr. is like he's top, he's like gonna be one of the top 3 receivers. Like, all right, is he better than Tyreek Hill? Is he better? I don't know. Is he better than Jalen Waddle? Is he better than Stephon Diggs?
I mean, eventually he'll be better than Diggs. I mean, Diggs is, is getting up there in age, but Diggs is still.
Is he better than Justin Jefferson? Like, is like so like I don't. It's like I don't know what is like. That's why I always just like really hesitate calling guys like a top player, right? Like I have a hard time doing that.
It's hard to do that, especially when they're coming into the league right away. You can do it in the draft, no problem,
right?
But you can't just say like, oh yeah, Marvin Harris is going to join the league. He's gonna be top 3 right away. It's like, no, that's not how this works.
He's also that's the Big Ten corners are good corners, but like he's beating up on dudes that like you're facing against dudes who run 4.3s on a given Sunday, right? You're facing fucking best athletes in the world, and not only that, like against some of the best defenses in the world, the best defensive minds in the world, and like your quarterback probably is going to be okay.
Right.
Like let's assume he goes to Arizona. Like Kyle will be all right. Kyle was a decent quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like a guy like I guess for the receivers this year, they're actually in a good spot, right? Like because if Malik goes to Los Angeles, like that'd be great with Justin Herbert and Marvin and like let's say Romo falls to 9 and like goes to Chicago with Caleb Williams, like that's really good. More often than not, like these top receivers end up going to like teams with like fucking slapstick quarterbacks like fucking Desmond Ritter, and you're like,
Drake London,
or fucking Zach Wilson. You're like, fuck me. Like how? Like I watched Garrett Wilson's tape back this year. I was doing a bunch of receiver stuff going into the combine, and dude, man, Garrett Wilson should be a fucking all-pro receiver right now. And the fact that he doesn't produce at that level is purely on the fact that his quarterback sucks. He is incredible. He's an incredible player.
I don't know if you're into Zach Wilson, you just don't throw the ball to him. I would just force the ball to him every time. Be like, hey, Garrett, take it.
You should because that's the right move. Because fuck it. But no, it's Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson came and get fucking traded out for. There's legitimate talk right now about the Jets having to give up a draft pick to get rid of to get rid of Zach Wilson.
I mean, the Jets should just watch the BYU Coastal game, and they would have realized, Don't take him.
This guy is not it.
You got bullied all game.
You watch the UCF stuff, man. Like it's all these like 3rd and longs, and they're running fucking drag screens. Like he's not. That's not a read for a quarterback. He's fucking throwing 1 yard past the line of scrimmage. Like that's not anything impressive.
No, it's not. I actually like what the Jets did this year a lot. I like how they got Tyrod. I think that was an awesome pickup. Especially if Rodgers, you never know. He's up there in age, coming off Achilles. He says he's good. I hope he is good. I would love to see Jets. I love to see the Jets be good. All my friends are Jet fans. They deserve to win at least a little bit. Not too much. They can fool themselves
a little bit. Exactly
1 year. That's all they. Let's give them 1 year, and I'm happy. And that's good. But Tyrod, it is an awesome backup for them. I think that was a great signing.
No, I love Tyrod. I really do. I think Tyrod's great. But I will also say this though: it doesn't matter if Tyrod could be the best quarterback in the world. Matter if Aaron Rodgers is not the quarterback of the Jets, like the Jets are going to suck. It doesn't matter, right? Like this team is built for Aaron Rodgers,
right?
This team built for these guys. Like it's just for the starters, right? And that's why I when the narrative came out, I was like, we QB2 is our biggest thing. I'm like, bro, you have no fucking tackles. How about we get a tackle first before we start talking about QB2? Like, listen, they address their tackles and they got 2 fucking solid tackles in Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith. Older tackles, but again, this is a 2024 only team, right?
This is a 1-year deal.
Once this year is over, you're blowing this whole fucking thing up anyway. Even if they do well, right? Aaron's going to be like what, in early 40s, 42, 43. I don't know, whatever he is at 40s. That point.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, like Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith are not going to be the team in 2025. Like, so you're blowing this whole thing up anyway. So this is a 1-year rental. And I really don't think Nate Hackett can fucking coach anyone that's not Aaron Rodgers. Like, he's the fucking Adam Gase of new offenses, right? Which the Jets should be very familiar with. Yeah, because Peyton Manning made Adam Gase look good.
Insane.
I really don't think it matters who is the backup quarterback. Because again, the Jets fans, because I'm still living in New York, so I still get all the fucking New York Jet shit here.
Right.
They were like, oh no, we need a good backup quarterback. I'm like, Joe Flacco, the guy who played so well that he got comeback player of the year over a guy who was almost dead. Right, insane. I know, rough spot for you. Where was he before Cleveland?
Yeah, he's with the Jets.
Fucking New York Jets. And you know what he was in the Jets? Fucking dog shit. Right? So maybe it's not the quarterbacks.
Yeah, could be 100% beyond the coaching, which is that's kind of what it seems like.
Yeah, maybe it's you guys, right? Maybe it's you guys, and it doesn't matter if you guys got Tyrod, which again, Tyrod is better than Zach Wilson. Tyrod's probably like the 34th quarterback in the league. But if it's not Aaron Rodgers, I don't think it fucking matters, especially in that division that's so fucking loaded.
Yeah, all hope was gone though. Like after Rodgers went down, I remember all my Jet fans friends being like, "That's it, season over," and they still didn't have a horrible record, even with Zach Wilson back-to-back years. Like, they put up a fight because their defense is like ridiculous. But I think with Tyrod, I still think they could sneak into the wild card. God forbid, same scenario happens. I think they could sneak in as the last wild card spot. But obviously, this year for the Jets, it's Super Bowl or bust. They don't want just a wild card play a game and then actually they're done. That would not be successful. Right. But also, they have the longest drought of any professional team.
Fucking incredible.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy that Jet fans are like, I want a Super Bowl, but it's also like, well, we also haven't been to the playoffs in the longest time.
Oh, I forgot who said that. Someone said that the other day. It was like, just let's just get to the fucking dance first before we start talking about fucking Super Bowls. But with the Jets, man, like, because I'm now in my early 30s, but like my teenage years don't feel like it was that fucking long ago. It was, obviously. But I was growing up during the Jets, Rex Ryan years. I remember all of our Jet fan friends just having just swinging their dicks. Like, oh, the Jets was so like, fuck the Giants. Like, we're nobody's little brother. And that fucking shit died so fast. But I remember when they were losing, I was like, good, fuck them. Like, you guys deserve this. Like, you guys didn't earn this shit. Like, fuck you guys. But now I feel bad. but you're right. They get 1 year of this. Any more than that, their head's gonna get too fucking big, and we're gonna have to fucking deal with them again. I don't want to do that.
I mean, when the Jets were good, I was in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and every Jet fan was intolerable. And I remember we went to that Giants-Jets game where Victor Cruz went off in the preseason, and then he didn't play for the whole year. And I remember the year after
injured.
Injured. And then I remember that year leading up, the Jets played the Giants that year. I remember talking to Kyle, Jesse, and Nick. I'm like, you just wait. So I'm like, Christmas Eve, you'll wait and see. Victor Cruz is going to tear you guys to pieces. And I just kept saying that to them for the whole season. And I remember Victor Cruz ran for the 99-yard touchdown, and then it's halftime, and I call Nick up Al's house. And I'm just like, hey, what did I tell you? Like, back because he didn't have a cell phone. We were so young, I had to call his house, and I left his house voicemail of me screaming, what did I tell you?
Dude, I remember that game because obviously we were there and we had great seats because Jews on Christmas we didn't care. We're like, we'll fucking go to a football game. But that was also the game where we stopped them on the same third down 5 times in a row or something. Because they kept being like offsetting penalties for like stupid shit, and we just kept kicking the shit out of Mark Sanchez. I felt so bad for that guy, but dude, that was a hell of a fucking game. But yeah, the Jets fans they were just fucking, all on Rex Ryan's fuck cock. It was bad. It was like, all right, guys, like Rex is good, but Rex isn't that good. Right. Like even now, there are Jet fans who are like, oh, I wish we had Rex back. I'm like,
that team was stacked,
dude, and like exactly, because he was fucking Rex was winning with Mangini's guys, and then when Rex started bringing in his own guys, that's when it was fucking bad.
Yeah,
right. Like no, Mangini built it like. Mangini as a personality, like, is kind of like a fucking wet napkin. Like, I get it. Like, he's not, that exciting. And, he has a lot of bad blood with the Patriots for essentially being the guy that fucked him with Spygate. And I know his reputation in the league is like kind of 50-50 depending on who you talk to. But like, they built a good fucking roster. And when Rex started taking it over and started replacing, especially when he started getting his hands more on the offense, and he was like replacing some of these younger receivers with these old fucks, and you were like, well, this isn't going to work out well. Like, and they didn't, because they couldn't get fucking open. I remember when they brought in Derek Mason. I'm like, Derek Mason should be in a fucking retirement home, and he's like, your receiver too? All right, we'll see how this works out for you guys.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's sad too, because I talk to Kyle all the time, and he still brings up the Jets Steelers game, and that's forever ago.
Oh my god, it's so brutal. It's like, all right, like I feel bad for Kyle. Like Kyle's grown like a full foot.
Yeah,
since that Steelers game. Like, oh man, it is quite embarrassing for Jets fans, and we'll see what happens for them, but they're kind of fucked. But another team out of fucking division of the Patriots. I get put in this back and forth with Pat fans all the time. So I actually want bring it to you. We'll talk about it real quick. Just so I don't forget, I have the roster up on Madden, which Madden is whatever. We've always had our disagreements with Madden ratings, but at least in terms of like public ratings, like this is like relatively decent, right? I'm of the belief that the Patriots trade down. Like, I don't think they're a quarterback away from doing dick, right? And I think Minnesota with the 11th and the 23rd pick, it would be incredible for them. But just looking at their team, like, Jacoby Brissett and Bailey Zappi, I'm not out on Zappi yet. Or like, I don't think Zappi is good. I think him and Brissett are about the same in terms of like ceiling. Brissett's like a veteran journeyman backup. I think Bailey will probably end up being that by the time his career is done.
Right.
But like, is your third quarterback on your board like what you want there? I don't know. But and then you look at the rest of the team, like you think about the other guys that they need, right? Like for receiver, it's fucking Kendrick Bourne, it's Smith Schuster, Demario Douglas, KJ Osborne. That's I call that the day one ultimate team. That is the fucking that's the opener the opener pack, and you're like, ugh, all right, let's get some fucking receivers in here. This is a problem. So like, I think in a receiver draft class that is so stacked, man, like you could target like Brian Thomas Jr. at 23. You can target A.D. Mitchell at 23. You can target Xavier Worthy at 23. Because there's no receiver that's gonna be at 11, right? There's gonna be that gap between the two receiver groups. But like you can get a solid number 2 there at receivers. Like I thought that was that's something. And then Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, like, all right, like that's Hunter Henry is all name at this point. And if you trade back to 11, there is a legitimate possibility that Brock Bowers falls to 11. Yeah, and you could get arguably the second or third best overall player in the draft at 11.
Yes,
and also get more picks. And then let me just read off to you this starting offensive line, not in terms of like where they're going to play, but just the 5 they're expected. and you just tell me why they shouldn't draft somebody. They have Cole Strange, which just fucking, that's a Belichick pick. David Andrews, who's like 33 at this point. Mike Wenu, they just got back, and then Chukwuma Okafor from Pittsburgh, who's a 1-year gap player. No left tackle on the roster. I don't think any of those guys have played left tackle in their career. And you're not one who's 6'2". Like, you're not having him play left tackle, and you're not going to take Okafor, who's a 1-year rental, and make him learn left tackle for a year. And you're not taking Joe Alt at 3.
No,
like that'd be a waste of a draft pick, right? Like you're not doing that. Like, you might trade so I have considered this trade of the Chargers trade the Patriots. They do a swap. It's an easier trade for both teams. Chargers move up and get Marvin Harrison Jr. And then the Pats can either take a quarterback at 5 or take Joe Alt at 5, which I think would be a good move. But even at 11, like, you have Olu from Penn State there. You're gonna have JC Lath is probably not left tackle, but really Olu Fashanu. Like, they're kind of stuck that it kind of has to be Fashanu because like they don't really have a left tackle. But like, you can get a very good left tackle. And I think you fucking need it. Like, this is another situation for like, you're walking out with 4 starters at like, you can play games with Jacoby Brissett and be okay. Right. If you're walking out with Okafor at left tackle, like, you're probably pretty fucked. Like, this is, or fucking was, I don't even know who their backup left tackle is. Like, it's a fucking problem. I could. It's a fucking issue. And then you look at this fucking, these interior guys like Christian Barrymore, Keon White and Dietrich Weiss are kind of like hybrid players. Devon Godshaw on the edge. They have Matthew Judon. Matthew Judon's great. Josh Uchi, Anthony Jennings, Tavai. Like, their edge rushers are probably pretty good. Their linebacker, there's really no linebackers in this draft anyway in the top. Corner, they're probably okay as long as Christian Gonzalez comes back and like is somewhat healthy. And then there's safety with Duggar and Peppers, New York Giants ledge, Jabril Peppers. But like, looking at this team, they could definitely use another defensive interior player. They can definitely use a offensive lineman. They can definitely use a quarterback. Obviously, they can use a receiver. They can use a tight end. That to me is a team that's like, we should absolutely take Minnesota's 11th and 23rd plus another pick and rebuild this team, because you're outside of quarterback, and that's not even true. There are quarterbacks in day 2 that you can have compete with. Oh, there's Barkley's ass in the back. By the way, if anyone listening on audio, that's the dog. Not Saquon's ass. You can get a Spencer Rattler in day 2, right? You can get some solid Jordan Travis. You can get some solid guys, and also like the chance that Michael Penix Jr. goes in the first round is low, but he'll probably be available in day 2. So I would say move back, get a Olu Fashanu, get a Brock Bowers, in the 11th pick, and then get like a Johnny Newton from Illinois, that D tackle, or maybe Tyler Godden or Graham Barton or fucking JC, whoever falls 23, because someone's going to fall 23, and fucking rebuild this team up. And then everyone's saying it's a bad QB class right now for 2025, but like, people said about the fucking Mahomes class that was shit, and that produced the best quarterback of this generation. And before he was outed as like possibly the biggest piece of shit on the planet, Deshaun Watson was also like playing it was unbelievable, right? And even Mitch Trubisky, who sucked, somehow also a Pro Bowl quarterback. So like, let's not judge it too early, right? Because people fucking thought that the 2021 draft class was great for quarterbacks.
Look how that turned out,
right?
Look how that turned out.
Like, let's not be like, oh, well, we gotta take one now because next year's draft class sucks. I was like, you see there's been so much movement with quarterbacks in the last 3 to 4 years. You can get quarterbacks via trade.
Oh yeah.
Like you get some assets, but fuck the assets if you're going to win a Super Bowl. Who cares? Right. You think the Rams missed those draft picks? No, they won a Super Bowl. They don't give a fuck.
Talking about the most even trade ever, though.
Oh, very, very, very much so. But to me, it's like I've gotten a lot of pushback on the Patriots for moving back, and I think honestly,
I don't get that.
If the Patriots take McCarthy at 3, I think he fucking dies behind that line. I think if they take Drake May, I think he does horrible behind that line. Because this roster is still a bad roster, and I know they were a top 10-ish defense last year, but like that's not something that's going to be replicated from year to year. It's not a consistent type of thing. Defenses don't stay consistent from year to year because so much of defense has to do with, well, first injury. If you get to be very lucky that your 11 guys are healthy and your rotational guys are healthy, right. And then it depends on who you're playing.
Yeah, straight to schedule.
Yeah, so like so much of that, like offense, offense you're dictating, defense you're reacting. So like that's why offense usually from year to year is more consistent. Right. So Patriots fans again are just like fucking. But again, I don't think Patriots fans know how to rebuild. I think they're so.
Why would they? I mean, they've been good forever. Besides since Brady left, honestly.
Exactly, and like I feel like they've been just. Like I hear these Patriots like, oh man, we just need a quarterback. I'm like, and also like brand new head coach. Like we have no fucking idea how Gerard Mayo's going to do.
Right.
Like Bill Belichick may have lost a step, still the greatest coach of all time.
Yes.
And he was barely winning, and by barely like that, like even though they were bad last year, that team also could have been a 3-win team, and it would not have shocked me.
Right.
So. Actually, what were they last year? Were they? Were they 3 wins? I think they had 4 wins, right? Like I think I projected them.
I don't think they had 3.
No, I think they were better than I projected them for 5. And someone wrote in the comments of the video 11-6 with a shush emoji. And I wrote back to him after the season. I'm like, so about 11-6.
I don't know what. I don't know how people thought that was even like possible, but it's funny though because I saw that this tweet.
It was 4-13. So yeah. So again, they were 4 wins with the greatest coach of all time. Like honestly, no, I take that back. Could have been a fucking 1-win team. Like that could have been the fucking Panthers.
Yeah, and it's funny because I saw something on Twitter. It was like the biggest NFL win total decreases from 23 to 24. And the Patriots are on that list from 7.5 to 5.5. It's even crazy. It's insane that their win over under last year was 7.5 with that roster. Like
that was people not looking deep enough into the Patriots roster. When I did it with Matt Giattino, my other co-host.
Yeah,
we were like, this team is fucking horrific. There's no redeeming quality to this team, and we were right. So I guess fuck them. Outside, I'm trying to think of other things I've seen recently. Oh, dude, the Eagles fans not being okay with understanding that they're probably not drafting Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama, the corner. So, and this is something that I've noticed with fan bases. The first corner off the board is probably going to be the kid out of Toledo, Mitchell.
Right.
And I've talked to a lot of people about this, because it would start with Kool-Aid beginning of the year. And then it went to Terrion Arnold, his teammate, and now it's been Mitchell. And although I love Terrion Arnold, I like him a lot, I haven't watched Mitchell yet. I was asking people around the league, like, why the movement at corner? Like, why is there no consensus? And people were essentially like, it's media people don't fucking watch Toledo during the season. Like they're focusing on Alabama. So the fucking Toledo corner goes unrecognized by the media. Like they never change for the teams. The teams have always had him like 1A, 1B with Arnold, but the media guys like didn't fucking is Barkley chasing her tail back there? That's amazing. Fucking Barkley, what a beast.
Better hands than Saquon.
There it is. But fucking like it seemed like the teams always had Mitchell and Terry Arnold 1A 1B, but like the media didn't catch up until recently. But apparently the Philadelphia Eagles fans are still on the fucking like preseason list with like Kool-Aid McKinstry right now is apparently supposed to like blow past the Eagles and go like almost to fucking 30, which is nuts.
Right.
But like you know ball pretty well, and like, but you also know fans very well.
Yeah, that if there's anything I know, it's
right,
it's
like
fans and delusional fans.
Right, like fans not being able to like update their understanding of what's happening around them. Like I mocked them Nate Wiggins, who was the consensus third corner, and they were like, "Bro, you don't know fucking ball, man. It's gonna be cool McKinstry." So I responded back. I'm like, it's right. I don't know ball. Apparently, there's Daniel Jeremiah and fucking Charlie Campbell or Trevor Sycamore who all have Kool McKinstry blown right by the Eagles at fucking 23 or 24. Yeah. What fucking thing? Are they 22? I think they're 22, but they're right after Miami, right? I think they're right after Miami, and I think the Cowboys are 24. They're all around the same area, but like supposed to blow past the Eagles. But they're just fucking on Kool-Aid. Which listen, if they want to take the consensus fifth corner in the third corner spot, great.
Be my guest.
But like. What you would think that at least the vocal part of the fan base would like listen to somebody. Like what's up with that? Like what you're more in the fan realm than I am because I'm talking to so many people in the league that I sometimes get like disconnect myself from fans. You're more you're in it. Like what is that whole issue?
I mean, it's honestly all these Twitter pages. I'm telling you.
I mean, fucking Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle's hysterical. I mean, Kyle has sources, and he's always correct, and he has no sources. I don't understand it. And
it's so funny.
Maybe it's just common sense. Like, maybe like this makes sense. Why wouldn't they do this? And I think that's what he does.
Before you get into this, I just want to say one funny Kyle story. Back when this was years ago, 2018 years or something now. He tweeted out something, and I'm at lunch, and I see the tweet. And I'm like, fuck, like he was right. Like I actually had sources that knew the answer. I was like, fuck, did I tell Kyle like that slip? And like did I tell Kyle like over beer like this was gonna happen? So I texted Kyle. I'm like, bro, like who do you know at the Jets? Because I'm like, and he's like. No, man, I'm just fucking making shit up. And I was like, well, bro, just let you know, you're fucking like right on the money. That's actually happening.
He went like 3 for 3 this offseason. And every time he tweets, he gets like 400 likes, like all these retweets. It's hysterical. And like people like to this day are like, you don't have sources. And they're right. They are.
Of course they are.
100% right. And then he just so sarcastic back, like, "Oh no, because I don't have sources though." But he has none. But he's right every time. It makes no sense. He doesn't miss. I don't understand it.
He doesn't. It's the fucking funniest thing. I love. I'm sorry. Get back to your point on fans.
Yeah, no fans. It is honestly, it's not like how it used to be, And now it's everybody's on Twitter. There's these like I'm gonna go back. I'm just gonna relate to Giant Twitter, which I hate. Not all Giants Twitter. Some Giants Twitter is good, but it's the ones that became fans in like the last 5 years that drive me bananas. And it's the people that are like Daniel Jones is the best QB in the world, and there's other ones where like Daniel Jones wouldn't even be a starter in the XFL. And it's like, can we have like a middle ground? But in the Twitter world, this is not a thing. This is not a thing at all, ever. So when it comes to like people having an unpopular opinion that doesn't go with the media when it comes to your team, they automatically think, no, that's never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. When it's like, well, no, that is gonna happen, and you're gonna hate it. And they're like, no. The media says no. Trust me. The media says we're going here. That's who we're going with, and it's like. Oh, are we sure about that? like, you sure about that? Because I don't think you're right. And
and especially depends on like what media source they like to use, right? Like,
yeah, and it's never the right ones. I'll promise you
so,
that.
never. So I got into not arguing. I don't argue on Twitter anymore, like or anywhere, because like I just don't give a fuck.
Right.
But I think I had a mock, and it was a thing to do with the Patriots, like trading out of 3, and some guys like, bro, they are not trading out at 3. Like it's been reported they're not trading at 3. I'm like, well, Lance Zierlein, who was the first person to break Trey Lance to San Fran, said 80% of the conversation is happening with New England and 20% is happening with Arizona for Minnesota. So I'm like, that's telling me Arizona doesn't want to move at all, which I've heard. They don't want to move at all. Although they're coming out publicly like, oh, we're open for business. Yeah, you're not. New England is talking. New England wants to move. And then the guy goes, well, Lance is wrong. I'm like, okay. Like, so what you're saying is the people you're listening to are reporting that, but people that have been shown to be accurate and know what's actually happening at certain spots, because you don't like their opinion, we're just gonna ignore what's happening.
Right. It's insane to me, but that's Twitter for you. That's why I really had stopped going on Giants Twitter, because it makes me go nuts. It is like the worst Twitter feed ever. I mean, there are some ones that I love, and I'll follow them any day of the week, and I gladly will. But there's just some that the people running it are either one just doing it for clicks, just to piss people off, which works really well, or 2, they're just so delusional what's happening around them that they're just listening to the wrong people, and they're like, it's never gonna happen.
Right, and also like a lot of these people that are on Twitter that are so-called reporters, baking a lot of their own fucking opinion, right? Like they're not using what they've heard, or they're like, oh well, from my assumption, but they won't come out and say that. That's like, oh, no, this is happening. It's like, is that happening? Because like I know for sure that's not fucking happening,
right?
And also there are a lot of reporters out there who are also full of shit,
right?
Like I know there are a bunch of reporters who are just fucking lie,
right.
Or don't have any sources at all. So and even in Giants, like there are some Giants reporters, man, that I know are just fucking full of shit. I would say for the most part, Giants reporters are are a great bunch. I know a lot of them.
Yeah,
they're usually a good bunch, but every team has somebody. Any team with a decent media market has somebody that they're not talented enough for their shit to stand out, so they just gotta make shit up.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you were talking to Kyle right now, he would go off about Jets beat reporters. He can't stand them.
R.I.P. Manish Mehta. Whatever the fuck he's doing now. But that's one of the guys, right? Like he was just making shit up. Like he was just blatantly making shit up.
Insane.
So like that kind of shit fucking. But you mentioned something about there's no middle ground with anything. And there's either like he's the absolute best or he's the absolute worst, and there's nothing in between.
Yeah, which
is fucking horrible. But I think also what fans understand is also that it's a comparative game, right? Like, if I say that, not that this is true, but let's say Daniel Jones is not accurate, right? Which is not true. I think he is very accurate. Right. But it's like, well, but he is accurate. Like I see him throw balls. Like, not accurate compared to the other 7 billion people on the planet. Accurate compared to the other 32 starting quarterbacks.
Right.
Like that. Like, because that's why you see guys who do these draft grades and they're like, you'll see like some of them like never put like, athletic ability below like a C or actual below C. It's like, we're not comparing them to the dude playing in the AFL.
Right.
Like we're talking about, how does he compare against his starting peers? And that stuff came a lot in the back end of the Eli Manning career, where we're like, Eli is not good anymore. And they were like, what do you mean he's not good? He still does like these great things. I'm like, yeah, like he shows flashes, but like compared to the other 31 starting quarterbacks, like Eli was starting to play like 20 to 23 and no longer playing like that 7 to 10 area where he would like have stretches where he was like one of the best 3 quarterbacks in the league, and then have stretches where he was like pretty shit. But like that was done. Fans cannot grasp that concept at all.
Also, fans as we said before, blow things out of proportion where you're either the best or you're the absolute worst. And they forget, like, it's very okay just to be a middle of the ground starter. Not for quarterback. I mean, obviously you want the best quarterbacks in the NFL. They win games. But for normal positions in the NFL football, it is fine to have guys be above average. It's not a bad thing. You don't need the best in every position. That's literally impossible. But God forbid someone
it's
has
not college.
Yeah. But God forbid someone has a bad game. Like, people are calling Kayvon a bust in the first 3 weeks last year, which was insanity because he started off the season a little slow. Yeah, did he? For sure. But, like, he also finished with 11 sacks last year, or 10.5, one or the other. But first 3 games, all of Giants Twitter, oh my God, we missed another draft pick. Like, he's a bust. And then by the end, everyone's like, oh, he's the best. I'm like, well, he's not the best. But we're happy to have him. He's above average. I wouldn't say he's the best. I wouldn't even say he's top 10, but he's what you want right now as a year going into year 3.
No, I agree. Like, I think there are spots on the football field, which is, you have 53 spots to clear, right? And like of that, like 48 are actually like dressing. So when you're thinking about that, like of the, what is it, 47, 40? I forgot what, but they've been changing the rules a lot every year, so it's been hard to keep up. But like of that roster of 40 plus guys that are dressing every week, you need what? You want a couple elite guys, a couple. That's really it. Right. The rest of your team is like a couple above average guys here, a couple plus starters here, one or two impact guys here. But the rest of the guys are just regular dudes, right? Like that's most of your team is just regular dudes, or just Jags, just a guy.
Right.
And yeah, like you don't need 5 All-Pro starting linemen, right? No. You don't need 3 All-Pro fucking corners. Like you don't. Right. Like your DT2 can just be like a dude, right? Like your second edge defender can just be a dude, right? Like as long as of course like you have other people around them. Like if you have like, and this is why I would lose it sometimes. But with Dave Gettleman, it would be, although Dave Gettleman is a super nice man and also like a great talent evaluator. Like there was that year. There were times where we had like Olivier Vernon. And then we would have, like some decent defensive linemen, mainly like the Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, BJ Hill situation, and also I think was that when we also lost Dalvin Tomlinson. My mind is sometimes forgets about that stuff. Like, why are we having? Why do we have 4 good D tackles? Like, we can only play 2 at a time. Like we can rotate in, but like. We don't need that many good players in one spot. Like one's enough. Like, and that's why I'm happy with like, they went out and got Brian Burns because it made Kayvon, who was having above average number 1 edge can be sometimes a problem, but above average number 2 edge, that's fine. Like that's great. Like that's why, we can roll in with Nacho at D tackle 2 and be like, it's fine. Cause Dexter Lawrence is DT 1. Yeah. Like it's like Nacho is more than suitable DT2. And honestly, going out and getting like Leonard Williams would be stupid. Like you don't need 2 elite DT2s.
Very happy.
Or 2 elite DTs. Like like you just don't need it. So like I agree with you. Like more of like the like of the 40 plus dudes that are dressing, and then you think about like the 30 guys that like actually like have like a real impact on your roster. Like 20 of those guys are just dudes.
Yeah.
The other 10 are like the ones that have an impact because it's a salary cap league. You can't go out and just get fucking all pro dudes up and down the board. Like
plus the Eagles. I mean, I don't want to talk about that. Fucking Howie. But the Rams did that a few years ago too, but it ended up backfire.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know if I told you, I saw a buddy of mine from the Eagles in Indy who worked with me for the Senior Bowl, and I always love running into him. He's such a good dude. And we quick catch up on how it's going, And I just congratulated him, like, listen, you guys are just continuing to kill it. Like, I don't understand how you guys keep building this ridiculous roster, and like, you guys just keep winning. Obviously, a rough end to the back end of the year, but like, they've been doing really well. And I was like, and he's like, that's the nicest dude. But when he was working for them when they won the Super Bowl, and I ever texted him, and like, it was such like a fucking bittersweet. I was like, I'm so happy he won a Super Bowl. But at the same time, they're like, it's the fucking Eagles. Like, it's the last team I wanted to win a Super Bowl. And he responded back with yeah, man, go Birds. And I was like, oh, good for you, man. I'm happy for you. But like,
I'm really happy. I'm so happy I missed 75% of that. I was driving home from a college baseball game. We played against UCF. We were driving back up to Coastal. And I remember just getting to the bar and just watching the end. And I was like, no. Like, why is this happening? Like, being a Giants fan and loving Eli, I'm like, I only wanted Eli to beat Brady. I didn't want anybody else. And then Foles does it. I'm like, oh, that kind of just kills it a little bit.
It dampers it. You're like, Eli and Nick Foles, the two fucking guys that do it. It's like, oh, that doesn't make this any more fun.
No, it definitely tarnished it a little bit.
A little bit. It was less cool. But yeah, the Eagles, man. Although I was different friend. I met some more people again. When you're in Indy, which one day you should come with me to Indianapolis. It's a fucking awesome time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was with some people again. Someone happened to work for the Eagles that I was with. And we were talking, because obviously I work for the New York Giants, not on the personnel side, but on the broadcast side. So, we live and die with the team, in terms of like our moods, especially fucking Paulie D, man. Paulie D fucking lives and dies with that team. Right. But we're sitting and we're talking about what's going on with the players and what's happened with our division. And, we're drinking, and he raises his glass and he goes, listen, as long as it's not the Cowboys. It's like, you're right. As long as it's not the Cowboys.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially living in Dallas, man. Like, we grew up with the biggest Dallas Cowboy hater ever.
Oh, God, our dad. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. I'm pretty sure our dad wants the Cowboys to lose more than he wants the Giants to win.
Giants won a playoff game last 2 years ago, and he said, best day ever, Cowboys lost tonight. I'm like, that the Giants won. We won tonight. We won a playoff game. Best thing ever. Cowboys lost. So he's gonna ignore this.
No, man, it's so true though. Like, it's so funny because like I was a lunatic fan growing up. Obviously, you fucking know, you live with me. Yeah. And I would like get really, I would get really high and really low with those games as a kid, and my dad would get on me like, listen, you can't fucking control yourself, which is funny because now I'm in my 30s. I work in the league, and I don't get too up or too down with the team. Like there are times like if we win a close game or if we lose a close game, I'll be like, oh, that kind of fucking sucked. Or like that was fucking like when the Giants beat the Packers, I felt I was super happy. And when the Giants lost to the Jets, I was like fucking pretty miserable for that ride home. But man, Dad now in his 60s has just gone 180, and he is fucking screaming at that TV. But only during Cowboy games.
Oh yeah, the Giants lose 42-0. He's like, just another Sunday. He's like, just Cowboys lose. Doesn't matter who they play against. Doesn't matter if they're favorited or dogs. He is just the happiest dude in the world. But for the whole 3 hours of that game, I get videos from Mom, just Dad like being right in front of the TV, like yelling.
And my favorite thing is now he's like, he just hates the announcers. He's like, oh, they all hate the Giants, which is so funny because like I know a bunch of these guys. Also, I know Chris pretty well. I worked with Chris and for Chris over at PFF. And when I first got the job, and I got to know Chris, like, not great, but like well. I remember Dad being like, so why does he hate the Giants so much? I'm like, he doesn't hate the Giants, Dad. I promise. No. Chris does not care about which team wins and loses.
It's honestly it's dad and his and the teams he root for, like JMU basketball played against Duke the other day, and he's like, "Yo, these announcers love Duke so much." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Duke. Like, what are you,
Duke,
what are you expecting? We're playing Duke basketball in March Madness."
Oh yeah, these fucking announcers couldn't tell you where James Madison's fucking located on a map. Like they fucking want. Of course they want Duke.
Yeah, and they were nice enough to talk about how good James Madison was this year, and that was great of them. But when he was freaking out about the announcers talking about Duke basketball, I was like, "Dad, what are you expecting here?" It was like, and I mean, the only time it made sense when he was mad at an announcer was the 2015 World Series of the New York Mets versus the Royals, where Joe Buck, like, you would never know the New York Mets were in that World Series. You would never know. You would never know they were playing in that World Series. That time, it made sense, and that was the only time I gave the pass to Dad, and I was like, "Yeah, no, you're right. Like, they're not talking about us."
Well, fucking Dad and Joe Buck, man. That's just. I was like, and Joe Buck's like one of the best announcers, like in the game. Yeah. Like he's Hall of Famer, like absolute Hall of Famer. But just because Joe Buck did Fox games for so long with the Giants, and because we would always get Joe and Troy for fucking Giants Cowboys
every time.
Dad just fucking
hated Joe Buck.
Which is funny because now he does Monday nights and he's like, Joe's not that bad. I'm like, I know he's not that bad. He's pretty fucking good.
It's funny though because he always loved Aikman more. And I'm like, wouldn't you hate him more? Like, but it's funny, like, watching him like root against the Cowboys, like growing up with Tony on the turf. Anytime Romo got sacked, or when Zeke got like that one carry where he got stuff behind the line, he would just stand up and scream, "Feed me!"
Yeah, feed me.
I'm like, that he averaged like 4 yards a carry.
What's so funny? I remember telling Dad this, like, when I was still like trying to get in on the personnel side. Like the nicest team to me was the Dallas Cowboys. Like the Cowboys personnel staff is like some of the nicest fucking people on the planet. And they're always so nice and so like friendly. And I was like, man, I was really hoping they were going to be mean, but they're super sweet.
The funny thing is though, we do make fun of the Cowboys a lot, but they do things right here in Dallas. I mean, so many things in the Dallas area is Cowboys. Like the gym I joined, Cowboys Fit, it's a retro version of the Cowboys Fitness Center. It's insane. They had that Frisco Star where the East-West Shrine Bowl was this year. That is all Cowboy stuff. We don't have any of that in New York. And we have 2 teams. I'm not counting Buffalo. Sorry, guys. But
Buffalo's not a New York team.
Yeah, they're basically Ohio. But
I just okay. No, I'm gonna go on a fucking tangent real quick because this shit fucking gets me every fucking time. Buffalo is not a New York team. They play in New York State, but New York City is the fucking market. All right. Yeah. That's why it's the New York Giants and the New York Jets. They play in the New York market, the city. I understand for some of you fucking bumblefuck idiots in the middle of nowhere of the country that can't understand that a city is so big, where a city is so big that it gets like the majority of the attention and not just like the fucking state. It doesn't matter that they're in New fucking Jersey. New East Rutherford is closer to fucking New York City than we are, and we live in the state. Like it does, like it's the fucking metro, man. And these people fucking don't understand shit. Like, well, they should call them the New Jersey Giants or the East Rutherford. But like, yeah, and then you go fucking tell the Dallas Cowboys to change their fucking into Arlington because they're not in fucking Dallas either. Like, it's the fucking metro market. All right, and like, and if you want to ask anybody if fucking if Buffalo is a New York team, ask Marshawn Lynch, who mistakenly thought Buffalo and New York were close, and it was like, oh, we're nowhere near that fucking city. When he went to Buffalo, it's not a fucking New York team. Buffalo, the city, has more in common with fucking Cleveland than they do with New York City.
Well, yeah, and also when you're in Long Island and when you're in Long Island in the city, I would say about 95% of people are either Jets or Giants fans. You had the little sprinkle of other fan bases. That's cool. Not a problem. Kind of weird, but I get it. When you're in upstate New York, it is like all hell breaks loose. There are either like some are Buffalo Bills fans, some are Cowboys fans, some are like New England Patriots fans, and it's just like you guys are the ones complaining about Buffalo being the only New York team, and yet that's not the team you root for. It's insane to me. I don't get it.
Well, just like the New York State is clearly divided into two, right? It's like Westchester and down, or like New Rochelle and down, and it's everybody fucking else, right? Like they're two different people. So like I have nothing in common with people from fucking Syracuse. Like nothing, like right, or fucking Utica, like
I would know.
I know you would know, right?
I would know.
Yeah, like we nothing in common with those people, right? Like that's not the same state. Like they have, like I always said, like when I went to school in Plattsburgh, I went to fucking cold Alabama, right? That's where I fucking went. It was just, we had a Walmart and a fucking corrections facility, and it was cold. That's all we had in fucking, it's not the same, right?
Syracuse has Wegmans. That's all they got. They got Wegmans and like totally tenders, which is
exactly.
They slaps.
And I'm not
that's
saying,
all you have.
And I'm not saying that this is anything bad, right? Like, it's just when they bring up this fucking like Buffalo is the only New York team, it reeks of like you don't understand basic media markets and you sound like a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
like it's not a like bro. I am fucking closer to Philly and Boston than I am to Buffalo.
Right.
Like
Buffalo.
Apparently Buffalo's a cool ass city. Like I've not been to Buffalo, but like I've heard Buffalo's cool ass weekend. I haven't. But Buffalo's fucking a 9-hour drive.
Yeah. Plus, who wants to go there past mid-October?
Exactly. But 9 hours south of me is fucking North Carolina. Like that's the same distance. Like you're telling me, like, if fucking Buffalo is my state's team, then I should root for the fucking Panthers. Like that we're in the same distance. Like it doesn't make any fucking sense. But that's just, that's fucking NFL fans for you, just doing absolute dumb shit. But fucking like that stuff. Oh God. But I know, but that went from a tangent of dad yelling at fucking Cowboys.
Crazy how we went the woo. And that's so funny.
If dad gets triggered by Cowboys fans, I get triggered by the fucking Buffalo shit. Like that shit fucking annoys the absolute shit. And oh man, that shit annoys the fuck out of me.
It's funny because I get triggered the most by Giants fans. I'm a Giant fan. Like they piss me off that much. This is my team. It triggers me.
Like Giants fans, man. Like I love New York Giants fans. Obviously, like I am one. But Giants fans, and let me take this back. It's not Giants fans. It's New York fans. New York fans are some of the most unrealistic sports fans in the fucking world.
Yeah.
Like they're just not realistic with their team expectations. They're not realistic with, and what I really hate about New York fans is that they'll prop up dudes who suck and tear down dudes who are good on their own fucking team.
Happens all the time.
Like there's no sweet spot for New York players, right?
Yeah.
Either you're the best in their mind, but you're okay, or you suck. But like every other team in the league would fucking love to have that player. You see it with fucking Yankees fans all the time.
They're the worst. I mean,
they are the worst.
It's funny too because I'm wearing a Mets hat right now. Shout out the New York Mets, even though we got postponed. I know this is a football podcast, but I will say, New York Mets fans are the smartest New York fans around, and it's probably because we bring.
That's a hot take.
It is but it's true though. I mean, I'm telling you, this year every Mets account, everybody talking about the Mets, I have realistic expectations of what the Mets will be this year, which is mid. But if you go and talk about the Giants this year, they're like, we're finishing second, maybe first in the NFC East. We're going to make a wild card. talking Yankee fans this year. Oh yeah, like how could we not make the wild card? Talk to Jet fans this year. We're going to Super Bowl. Talking to Knicks fans this year, best Knicks team people my age have seen. They feel very confident, rightfully so. And Nets fans, those don't exist in New York.
No, it's just
Nets fans are not a thing.
No, I swear that's not even a real. That's not even a real team.
Yeah, and then also like Islander fans too. I have a ton of those before the season started. The highest expectations, and they're horrible.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and I agree with you with that. And like it's the New York fan, and I don't know what it is about New York fans in terms of they do a really bad job of seeing the rest of the league. Right. And now that could be because we live in New York. So our teams are always on fucking prime time, whether they deserve it or not.
Like the Jets last year.
They are. Right. So New York Giants fans and New York Jets fans are not exposed to other teams that often, right? If you like, no, they're exposed to their rivalry teams. Like we're exposed to the Cowboys and the Eagles and Washington all the fucking time. But like, you ask the average Giant fan to talk about fucking Chicago, they're not going to know shit.
No,
right? They're just not going to know it, right? It's or fuck ask about like Minnesota, they wouldn't know anything. Like it's just they don't have a good sense of the rest of the league outside of like maybe a top few fantasy players, right? And I'm not sure that's like uniquely a New York thing, but I do wonder if there are multiple facets of that. A being that like New York is one of the few cities where you have a team in all four major sports, plus multiple teams in all four major sports. Yeah. So like a New York sports, a New York sports fandom like doesn't end. Like your full year of just sports, right? And then you add in like rising sports like soccer. Like you really could just be a New York sports fan all year long, not watch a game outside of New York and be completely entertained and be fine.
Full year letdowns, though. I'll tell you that.
The full year letdowns.
I'll tell you that. Full year letdowns.
100%. It's just constant disappointment. But you think it's a lot of that, and then also all because we are the biggest media market in the country. Our teams, if they're even like just average, get a ton of primetime spots. So because like there's always like that's what Jacksonville's a little better now, but back when Jacksonville sucked and like there was always that like token Tennessee Titans Jacksonville Thursday night game, that was probably the only time a New York Jets or Giants fan, like 95% of them, saw either one of those teams play,
and they hated it.
They probably hated every second of it.
They hate every second of the game. They watch it for Derrick Henry during the times.
Right.
But they hate it, besides the fact that Derrick Henry usually ran for 200 yards those games.
So I do wonder if that plays into the fact like I don't think New York fans have a good sense of the leagues around them. Because it's like, why would they?
Especially the average fan.
Well, I would say New York is full of average fans, right? Because you have four major sports and not what was it, fucking 9 teams in the area, right? You have three hockey teams, right? You have 2 basketball teams, 2 football teams, 2 baseball teams,
right?
Like, and then you have like the other teams sprinkled in. Like Buffalo has a good stronghold here with football, and then there's also like a weird Cowboys contingent in Dallas, which is weird. In Jersey, which is weird.
Yeah, at all.
Yeah, and then you also have like like the New York Red Bulls and like New York FC. So like you have like there's so many fucking teams.
Yeah,
there's so many teams. Like you don't have to have any more than an average fan. I'll say if you watch all those sports, how could you be any more than an average fan? Right? You're watching so many fucking sports. You can't keep up all that shit.
Yeah, and you have all the professional sports, but think about all the minor league stuff going on there too. You have all these AAA, single A, double A, independent ball. you don't even have to follow these teams, and you can like, oh, I want to go to a ball game. Like, I'm gonna go see a ball game. Like, people don't have to follow the league the way it used to be, or well, at least in New York, it's not how you need to follow it. You follow your own teams, but then also you can be distracted by all the other fun things happening around you too. Where I know in Dallas, we have the Frisco Rough Riders, but no one goes to those games. But in New York, you have the Brooklyn Cyclones, you have the Long Island Ducks. I mean, and then in Jersey, you have the Staten Island Yankees, also the Staten Island Yankees. But in Jersey, you have whoever that Jersey Yankee team is. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But like, you're surrounded by all these different other baseball teams that if you live in that area, that's awesome. Like, you love that team. I remember going up to school in New York, and my buddy Chris lived in Binghamton, and they had the Binghamton Mets, the Binghamton, whatever the hell their name is. But the Mets, the minor league system. And he's like, I followed that team all year. All year. He's like, I loved watching these prospects come in, and I would just follow them every game. Like, they were broadcasting them all the time. And that's I think it's the difference in New York compared to like most other states. Is that you have all these other teams, not just professional wise, but you also have all these crazy good minor league teams too. Which,
and I think that's why college ball doesn't exist here. It's like there's no spot for it, right? Because there's not one in New York. No one cares, right? Like, because again, it's not like, I'm not gonna try to shit on anybody. But let's go with Carolina, right? Like, because I lived in Charlotte for a bit, so I can kind of speak to that area. Yeah. They had the Hornets, right? Which is is that the basketball team name? Or I know they changed it halfway through, but it's the Hornets now, right?
No, it was the Charlotte Bobcats.
Right, it's the Hornets now. So they're the Hornets, and they have the Panthers, right? That's it. They have and that's the only two teams that like play. Then they have the Charlotte Knights, which when I was there was the White Sox team. I think it has changed, or was it Cubs? One of the minor league teams. I know it had changed affiliations. That's it.
That's it.
You had like the UNC Charlotte football team that was like okay, but that again was kind of it. So like you could then search for other teams, right? Like, no, that's why there was a big stronghold of South Carolina in there, and some stronghold from UNC and Duke, and NC State, although and even some Carolina Hurricanes, although they played in Raleigh, because Charlotte and Raleigh are not the Charlotte and Raleigh are as different as fucking New York State, New York and Buffalo. So it's just crazy. Like right, it's like you have more, you can look to fill your sports schedule with other stuff, because you only have two teams you're following throughout the entire year. So like in New York, and this is just counting New York City, right? The metro market of New York City. If you were to expand it to the entire state, we're talking about all the fucking Buffalo teams, a lot of parts of you get a lot of New England fans that come from Connecticut. Like, it's just, there's a lot of shit here. But what this entire conversation led to is just New York fans don't have a good grasp of the leagues that their teams are playing in because of multiple reasons. And that's why I think I projected the Giants to have a 7-win season last year. And it was a weak 7-win season. Like, I thought they were going to be like on the cusp of 6. So when they started off rough, it wasn't shocking to me. Like, it was like, no, this team didn't really upgrade a ton. Joe Shane was still like digging himself out from the Gettleman years, and he still is digging himself out from the Gettleman years. And I knew like it was going to be a rough season. It was going to be a rough season. Right. And I thought the Giants fans thought they're like, no, we want a playoff game. Like that fucking matters at all for the following season. They're like, we're going to be good. And it's like, no, we still play against the Eagles and the Cowboys. We couldn't beat when we were good in 2022. Right. Maybe let's pump the brakes and understand that we were a bounce of the ball away from being a 7-win team in 22, and that if something goes wrong, like Andrew Thomas getting hurt in the first fucking drive, or Saquon Barkley going down, or fucking Daniel Jones going down, this is going to be a long season. It was going to be long. And I think that led to an unjust pressure on Coach Daboll and Joe Shane, because anyone who just decided to look would have known this was going to be a hard season, no matter who was coaching, no matter who was the GM. And when it went down that way, Giants fans were given a little dose of reality. They couldn't handle it.
They were unrealistic. I mean, we talked about before the season started, when we saw the schedule and we saw the first few weeks, and we were like, oof. like there's a good chance like we start one and whatever. I mean, there was a possibility about that. And I was trying to go back to my optimism years. I'm like, I want to be optimistic about this team. I'm going into week 1. I'm excited. We're tailgating. Well, not you. You were working. But the family, we were tailgating. And I remember all of our cousins were like, look, this is it. Like, we finally have something to look forward to as a New York Giant fan. And then the end of the first quarter hits, we're soaked. And we're like, oh my God, we're bad again. Like I felt like we're in the water body. Like, oh shit, we suck again. Like, that's what it felt like. We were just sitting there drenched and being like, oh my God, we reverted 10 steps back. And then everyone got hurt. And then Daboll was under fire, which in my opinion, I don't think he deserved really much of that. It's my opinion. I don't think he deserved much of that. And I also have a very unpopular opinion about Tommy DeVito. I mean, a lot of Giants fans hate him because we have the 6th pick because of him. But you know how much fire?
That is such a fucking loser mentality. Such a fucking loser mentality.
Thank you. Also, if Tommy DeVito's winning these games, any other quarterback could probably win these games. I mean, Tommy played great. I'm not denying what he did those games. But if he can win those football games, you tell me that there's not another player in the NFL that we could have had a quarterback and maybe win those games?
Well, not only that, and and what I think people don't fucking understand, and this is again a fan thing, and this is not the fan, it's the media too, because I've heard this in the media as well. If the Giants continued that path they were on before DeVito, there is a non-zero chance Brian Daboll gets fired, right?
Yes.
There's a non-zero chance of that. And then we would be in the same fucking spot, but worse, because Brian Daboll's a fucking awesome coach, awesome coach. Tommy DeVito breathed life into this fucking team. It was just it was fun to go to work again. It was fun to go watch these games again. We weren't going to fucking win. We were playing an undrafted kid at a fucking Syracuse to play these games. Or I forgot where he went afterwards. What he go to Illinois that 1 year, but Illinois. I knew him from Syracuse. But he, we were getting, we weren't going to win, but he was bringing some energy back to the team. And I was like, great. The fans are excited to see him. It was fun to watch. We won a couple of games, and that's fine. And you know what? So the Giants aren't picking fucking 5th to get their 4th fucking quarterback. Fuck off. Go fuck yourself. That fucking narrative is so fucking lazy, as if fucking Lamar Jackson wasn't picked fucking 32nd, and Brock Purdy wasn't the last pick of the fucking draft, and Patrick Mahomes was fucking the second quarterback pick at fucking pick 10, as if picking high guarantees you a fucking player. Fuck you. Thank you. Right?
And
fuck you.
And that's going back way in the beginning of the conversation of why I hate Giants Twitter.
Bro, it's not even sure. These are media people who said the same fucking thing, and to me, it's just like, you are just not thinking about people's fucking livelihoods in the situation. If they can, bro, because you remember, you're a Giant fan. When we were in that stretch, that bad stretch before DeVito, every game was like, oh my God, this, and then you obviously we didn't know about this in during the time, but the shit between Wink and Daboll, if that shit came out and the Giants won 2 games,
game over.
It might be getting over. It might, because the fucking media would have killed Daboll. Yeah. But DeVito winning those games, Daboll showing some life again. It bought him a lot of extra grace with the media guys that actually gave a shit. The ones that are schmucks are always gonna be schmucks. But you can survive a couple of writers in New York, but once the full media turns on you, you're kind of fucked. and he was able to survive. If we don't get Tommy DeVito and that fucking Tommy Cutlets energy, then I don't know if Brian Daboll's still the head coach, which would be a fucking shame because he's awesome. Like as a coach, I love him. As someone that I have met, like he is just one of the coolest people I've ever met. Even before I worked for the New York Giants, like, I want nothing but good things for Brian Daboll. He's just like one of the nicest people on the planet, and he's a good coach. So I'm perfectly happy picking 6 if that means we did enough to get a year 3 with Shane and Daboll.
6 is perfect too. We are in a good spot, and people love to overreact about that. 6 is a good spot to be in, and I loved the Tommy DeVito stuff. That's what I was getting to. Were happy we were winning. Yeah, it was fun during that Packers game. Me and Dad were on the phone the whole time. We're like, I can't believe this. I remember going into the Packer game that night. There was Monday Night Football, and I was like, I hope the Giants play good, but I really just want Tommy to play good. Like, this is the first time he's under the lights. All the pressure's on him to play good. I'm like, I just really hope this kid plays good. And he showed out. And that game showed, like, look what Brian Daboll did with this kid, this undrafted kid. The first time he came in against the Jets, he didn't even throw a pass. And then 3 weeks later, he's tearing up the Packers, who also was a great team. They killed the Cowboys on the playoff game. That's the same Packers team that Tommy DeVito absolutely lit up. So I think a lot of people kind of overlook that as well. And it stinks because he's not going to be on the Giants roster this year. Maybe not. I'm not really sure. But I'm happy for the kid though. I mean, he definitely deserves a spot on some team, at least as a backup. Probably not a starter, but not practice squad. I think he deserved his. I think he earned his stripes to be at least a backup. Well,
it just goes to show you, man, like how fucking fickle fans are, right? Like, when he was in that stretch, we would get calls like, we should give this DeVito kid a shot, man. Like, we don't need a quarterback in the draft. We got Tommy DeVito. Like, we're good. And now we're, getting close to draft, and people are like, fucking Tommy DeVito, it's because he won. We have this spot. It's like, man, like, escape the fucking moment for a second and remember what it was like 6 months ago and what we were all going through. Tommy DeVito, the Tommy DeVito story was the best thing to come out of the Giants this year. I watched that Green Bay game from the booth between Bob and Carl, and it was great. And let me tell you, man, like that, we needed that. Hey, a little inside baseball here. Like, I'm sure people listen to this show, they probably know who Paulie D is, who works in the New York Giants. Paulie D lives and dies with the New York Giants, man. Lives and dies. He's the most diehard fan I've ever met in my life. And we beat the Packers, and I see Paulie after, like, Paulie, man, how you doing? He's like, good, man. Now we don't have to cancel Christmas. But he was like legitimately serious. So like that's how we all felt though. We all felt like fucking like, we can breathe for a second. Like it was like we needed that win. It meant going to Philly for Christmas Day we had a shot to do something. And so we fell short, but like we were in that game, and that obviously Tommy gets benched for Tyrod, but it doesn't matter. There was confidence in the team again. And I will take, because it's not like the whole Giants team got revamped for this upcoming season. We still have a lot of the same guys starting this year that we had last year. So you don't want them to have no confidence going into 2024. Like it's some of these fucking fans and media guys just like think of these players as like Madden characters. Like they're emotionless. Like these are people. Like these are people, and like people get fired and people lose hope and people lose confidence. The Giants, I feel like the Giants fans, the Giants people in the Giants organization, I think the Giants players feel pretty confident about where we're going. I think maybe some of the fans are a little too overconfident, thinking that the Giants are going to, beat the Eagles and the Cowboys and sweep them next year. That's not a thing. But there's a reason to be optimistic, and a lot of optimism starts when Tommy DeVito comes in and goes in that 3 out of 4 game stretch.
Yeah, and also we're talking about what we talked about a little bit earlier, that the last year's team, I guess 2 years ago now, stuff went their way, and that's how they made the playoffs. The Giants won 6 games last year. 3 of those games they could have won. The Jets, they should have easily won that game. The Bills, the missed holding call in the end zone. And then the Rams. Yeah, the Rams. Yeah, they won by 1 point. Those 3 games, they're at 9 wins. All of a sudden, whole narrative changes about the New York Giants. Ball bounces the other way. Granted, the games they lost were fugly.
Not great.
They were so bad. I mean, multiple games where I was watching, I was just like, oh, God. Like, it's like, felt like someone was like stabbing me a little bit. But like, they could have been a 9-win team. And I know that's a crazy thing to say, but when the ball is not bouncing your way that year, that's what happens.
Oh, yeah. Listen, good things happen to teams that are, when you're a good team, like winning just sometimes happens, right? Like that, that's a big fucking Rich Stopskyism, right? Like like if you're a good team, like things will just happen to bounce your way, right? Like we were a decent team in 2022. Like I remember watching the Ravens game because I wasn't working for the Giants then. I was sitting on my couch, and then I was like, oh well, we lost this game, but we kind of thought we'd lose the game. All of a sudden, like we were winning. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like Lamar made some of the dumbest decisions I've ever seen, and I was like, what the fuck has happened? Like, how are we in this game? We shouldn't have been in this game. But I also felt the same way about the Jets, where I was like, how are they still in this game? Like the Giants should have won this game already, and like we somehow just gave it up to them. It was the same exact feeling, just flopped.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's you're right. Like it bounces our way. We're a 9-win team. We made the playoffs. Maybe we're a wild card team. Maybe we just miss.
Narrative's different.
Narrative's totally different. And I think that's a fair point. And I think with the media it's just stupid. And let's not act like any of these players are sure things, right? Every one of them has a bit of unknown. Obviously, there's you would think that Caleb Williams has a considerable chance of hitting more than like a dude who's picked 233rd, but like there's still a chance he doesn't work out, right? And there's a chance that if the Giants picked at 3, let's say shit goes south, right? And how many games did Tommy win? 3. Tommy won 3 games, right? 3 or 4. So let's take away 3 wins. So let's say they win 3 games. So now they're picking 3rd, or they're picking above New England. You're kind of fucked if you're there, right? Like, who the Giants pick at 3? JJ McCarthy.
Yep. And then
you know what? And those same fans who were like, Tommy fucked us, man, are be the same fans like, oh, I don't want JJ McCarthy. What are we doing? So you know what? Those guys, that very loud minority of Giants fans, because they are the minority of Giants fans, just fucking tweet them out. They don't fucking mean anything.
But that's a lot of Giants Twitter though. That's why I just stopped following them, because it's all you see.
Right.
Is hatred of Tommy DeVito and Daniel Jones, and it's ridiculous.
Oh, dude, the whole Daniel Jones stuff. And remember, I did not believe DJ could be a franchise quarterback coming out of Duke when I worked for PFF. Right. And then he surprised me in his rookie year. I thought he was really good. And then now I think he's a little gun shy. I think he doesn't push the ball in the field as much as he did in that first year because he had so many turnovers. Although most of the turnovers were from fumbles. But like we've seen that like with a good team he can win.
Yeah.
And I'm not and that's also why I like sitting at 6. You know what? If we end up if you're telling me we don't take a quarterback and we end up with Malik Nabers, Roma Dunze, or Joe Alt, I'm like, that's great. That is fucking that's a win. Give me that. Yeah, I love that. Like I know something, but I also want to bring this up real quick, and that's something that fucking get more fans and media just don't fucking talk about. There was talk about the Giants moving down, and it's like, well, all right, with who? Like, who the fuck is trading 6?
Who and why?
Like, exactly. That shit is another one that fucking gets me. Where it's like, fans, and even like some of the smarter fans, like analytics guys, will talk about trades as if like they're like it's fucking Madden, where you just press like a button and it's like, here's all my offers. Let me just go take this offer now. Yeah. Like you need a partner to fucking play with, and when it comes to trading, And it's 6. Like, I don't think the Giants are going to get much for that 6th pick because by the time they get to 6, the quarterbacks are all be gone, most likely. And if there is one still there, that's probably not worth trading up for. Marvin is gone. No one's trading up for Brock. No one. I don't think anyone's trading for Joe Alt either. I think although I think Joe Alt is most definitely the consensus first tackle. I don't think there's a lot of teams that have Latham high. So like, I don't, or even Fashanu. No one's taking that 6th pick for the King's ransom that some fans think the Giants can get for it. If anything, I think the Giants are a team that can move up.
Right.
And I think the Giants moving up. And that's also another fucking thing, right? Like, the Giants also could move up to 3. I think that's also a chance the Giants move to 3 and take JJ McCarthy. I think that's not or the Giants move to 3 and take Marvin Harrison Jr. Although it would not surprise me if Joe Shane was one of the GMs that thinks Malik Nabers is better than Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right.
Just like when I was doing some research on the receivers, again, just no information. I did not know Joe Shane outside of like him and I have like stood in the bathroom line together. Like that's like what's really it. He likes to draft receivers and acquire receivers with high yards per route run, and Malik Nabers led the draft class in that stat. Mm-hmm. So and now that he ran a 4.35 at his pro day, would not surprise me if that was like the thing that put Nabers over Harrison. So I honestly, I can even see a trade for the Giants to jump ahead of, or not even jump ahead of, but swap with Los Angeles. Because I do think for the Chargers, if Malik Nabers is there, which he's gonna be at 5, I think they have like almost like a duty to fucking draft him because like you're not walking out Quentin Johnson.
How could you?
I really do think they want to draft Joe Alt, but I think it's just like you can't draft Joe Alt at 5 when you have Malik Nabers there. But I think if the option was like, but you can trade down 1 and you can get Joe Alt and like get another pick, I think they would do that. And then they get the guy they actually wanted to take at a spot that's realistic for him. And the Giants draft Malik Nabers, who might be their receiver 1. And I don't think the compensation package would be that much higher. Because I do think there will be teams that are going to explore trading up to 5 for Malik Nabers. I really don't think anyone is going to explore trading up for fucking Drake May.
No,
I just the feeling I get from people when I talk about Drake May, even though I like Drake May, like I remember this is not a me not liking Drake May. Drake May is my QB3. He is like this close in difference between him and Jaden Daniels for me. But from around the league, it seems like it is Caleb, Jaden, JJ, May.
Right. Which is crazy.
Which is nuts. But if that's the case, I don't like. I don't know if Denver views Drake May that much differently than Bo Nix, which is nuts.
Right.
So like, I don't know if that's the case. So I don't know. I'm and also I don't know if like even if it was the case, right? Like if Los Angeles wants to stay in the top 7 to get Alt, they're not going to trade with LA. They're not going to trade with Denver or Las Vegas. I don't think Minnesota got 11, 23 and moved to 5. That's a we're moving to 3 trade. Yeah. That's a lot of firepower.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to just be those 2 picks. It's going to be that, but more. Yeah. And I think that's going to go to 3. But I think there's the Giants stuff. The Giants draft is going to be very interesting. I know this ended up being like an hour of the New York Giants, but like I don't fucking care. Like why not?
Right.
But there was some other news today, which we should probably talk about that real quick before we head to bed. The Panthers end up signing Clowney to a 2-year deal worth like $20 million. which I knew it had to be a 2-year deal. I want to see what the guaranteed money is because like him going to a team that's not a contender, like there was definitely a market for him to be a mercenary. He's been a mercenary for the last few years.
Right.
The Panthers kind of fucked, right? Like no.
I don't see what they're doing at all, man. It makes no sense to me.
They're a bad team. Like I will say, they have what they're lucky is that there's a deep receiver class because I do think they need one more receiver.
Yes.
Looking at it now, Thielen and Dante Johnson are good. 1-2.
I like the Deontay Johnson pickup.
They got Mingo last year, and we'll see. But Thielen's also getting he's gonna be what 35. Like he's fucking old. Tommy Tremble's not good.
You could tell that Thielen was in the beginning of the season. He had a pep in his step, and then as time went on,
I will say this offensive line though is like pretty fucking good. Like it's not a great offensive line, but this is like definitely top half of the league. And then looking at this defense, and look at it real quick. Oh, I forgot they got our boy Ashawn. Honestly, the DT group, of Ashawn Robinson and Derek Brown, and the edges of Javian Clowney, and then either DJ Wonnum or Chazon. It's like that's like not a bad defensive line group, and linebackers are fine. You got Shaq Thompson and Josie Jewell, who are both very good, and I have JC Horn. The corners need help.
Yeah,
and then they have a decent. So their defense really isn't that bad, and their receiving group really isn't that bad. You know what? Actually, now that the Panthers might be okay. Pump brakes.
Yeah, I don't know about okay,
but when you look at this team, like obviously tight end's the problem. They need a receiver. None of it matters if Bryce Young doesn't turn out to be good, right? If Bryce Young sucks, it doesn't matter,
right?
But that offensive line is like pretty halfway decent. It's not a bad line at all, and that defense is a pretty good defense, and that should be a good enough team to contend the South.
Agreed.
As long as Bryce Young doesn't suck.
I don't think he will. And also, this, like I said, like you said, the wide receiver class this year is insane.
Right. It's super deep.
Yeah. I mean, I might get shade on this, but you could find a wide receiver one in the second round.
Of course. Of course you can.
I mean, Keon Coleman's extremely talented. Also, Troy Franklin from Oregon, incredible. He needs to beef up a little bit. Someone presses him, he can't move because he's literally built like Jesse, which is just a twig. But if someone beefs him up, Troy Franklin could be awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's a super deep class, and when you need him, when you're bringing a receiver who's going to be your third or fourth receiver, you don't have to draft him that high, and I think you're going to get some solid guys. Tight end's a little bit of a rough spot. They're going to have to figure it out with probably the day 2, day 3 pick. Well, definitely not day 1. They don't have one. But because right now it's Tommy Tremble and fucking Ian Thomas. Is that the two guys they have there? That's not great. But again, none of this matters if Bryce Young isn't good, right? If Bryce Young is good, this team could contend for the South overnight.
The South is very weak.
It's wide open. So with New Orleans is okay. Now they have my boy Zach Robinson in Atlanta. They're gonna fucking tear it up, though. You know. It'd be pretty fucked. Actually, no, I'm gonna take a look at the Falcons real quick. I'm gonna look at the Falcons. Why not? Because this is our podcast. We didn't even want.
Yeah, I mean the Falcons. They were good last year, and they had a quarterback that couldn't throw a football.
That's true.
Honestly, now they have a guy who could throw a football. I mean,
this skill group, man. Zach is one of the fucking smartest people I know in football. So he's gonna be amazing with this. Kirk Cousins, Robinson, Algier, London, Rondell Moore, and Darnell Mooney, and Kyle Pitts. That's a fucking unit.
Yeah, have fun covering those guys.
And then even this offensive line's not terrible. Chris Lindstrom is the best guard in the NFL today. He just is. Drew Dahlman's not bad. Matthew Bergeron was a rookie last year. He's not terrible. Jake Matthews is very good. So is Kilby Gary. It's a good line. It's a solid line. The question just is who's your DTs? You got your defense. Grady Jarrett's a little bit older. Dylan Yamada's all right. Their edge rushers are just fucking there. It is, man. New York Giants legend Lorenzo Carter, fucking starter for the Falcons. And then
that's rough.
Arnold Buchetti is the other edge. It's a pretty fucking weak edge group. Their linebackers are okay, but again, you can survive with Jags at linebacker in the NFL these days.
Right.
Wow, their corners are rough. Like AJ Terrell is great, and then D. Alford. Jesse Bates is amazing. Richie Grant's okay. So, but again, like that's a good enough team to win the South. And right now they're projected to take Dallas Turner, the edge from Alabama at pick 8. Right. That's a win. That's a win. You know, I think the only thing that could be better for them if they were able to move back and also get a corner. But again, this corner draft, like it seems like a lot of decent second round corners this year. So like, you know, get Dallas Turner at pick 8, and then you work on a corner in day 2. But the Falcons are like pretty solid. And then I want to see the Saints real quick. The Saints, they're I didn't love them last year. Like Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara is more of a name at this point.
Yeah.
Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed coming along was like a big thing for them. Cedric Wilson Jr. they added.
I like A.T. Perry too. Don't forget about
A.T. Perry's really good. Tight end's okay. Right. The offensive line for New Orleans was a big one. I remember now I'm thinking back to the draft. It was Ryan Ramczyk at right tackle, one of my favorites. Cesar Ruiz, Eric McCoy, James Hurst in the middle, and then Terrapini at left tackle. I don't think they have a whole lot of faith in, which is why I think Olufa Ashanu going to New Orleans is probably the right move.
Right.
And then the defense, that's right. So their defense, their edge group, man, is like fucking good, right? You have Cameron Jordan, who apparently is ageless, Chase Young, and Carl Granderson as the edge rotation.
Yeah.
The D tackles are kind of rough. Brian Breesy and Nathan Shepard. Linebackers, Mario Davis, Willie Gay. I forgot they had Willie Gay.
Right.
Pete Warner. Corners are solid. Debo Lattimore and Taylor. Tyrann Mathieu. Forgot they had Tyrann Mathieu. Because this fucking honestly, it's the Saints have been so now this is on me, right? Again, I work in New York. I do New York stuff. The Saints weren't that good last year. I didn't really see much of the Saints.
That's what happens when happens in New York. You forget about
I forgot to say it's me. It's me. But the Tyrann Mathieu's like the fucking like one of the best. But he's been very quiet. Quiet in terms of national exposure. I've not really seen much from Tyrann Mathieu since he left the Chiefs.
Right.
And then Jordan Howard, I think is their strong safety. That's whatever. But yeah, that's honestly this South is a total toss up. We'll see.
Agreed.
But all right, we've been on for like an hour 45. I think that's probably.
I will say this before we head out. I find it awesome you use Madden for your rosters, and I don't know if you've played Madden. I know you got a little baby, so I know you're busy with a lot of things. But me and my buddies, we've been playing before the show came out. We played a connected franchise of 4 of us, and we started in Madden 2005. And you can download the 05 rosters, and then you can either do a fantasy draft or you can just start as the team itself. And then there's this guy. I don't know who he is, but this guy made draft classes from 06 all the way to like Archie Manning's year. So we played pretty close to 25 seasons.
No fucking way.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah. So we literally started in 05. And then you see, though, there's like huge gaps of like horrible quarterback draft classes. Like we have to think about like what we have to do next because we don't pay quarterbacks. That's not what we do. As soon as their contract is up, they're gone. Like, we can't trade. Like, we have to trade them away. But it's funny because you're like, okay, well, the next 3 draft classes are horrible. Like, we can't draft anybody. So it's actually super. That was a really fun thing to do. But yeah, 4 of us.
Now I'm gonna fucking look. That's like up my fucking alley. That's like.
So you download the 2005 rosters, and I'm telling you, there's this guy who made a draft from '06 all the way to Arch Manning's, and then even a little bit past his. By the way, Arch Manning's a cheat code and Madden.
No shit.
Yeah.
Although he hasn't fucking started yet,
I know, but I'm telling you, we played this for like hours on end every night. We would do like we would only play for like breakout quarterbacks, or if we play each other in the playoffs. We sim every game. We're basically just the GMs. But if we play each other in the playoffs, we play against each other. So
this is incredible.
Yeah, and you can when you draft the guys that are rookies, like for example, like the '06 draft. I drafted Nick Mangold. He starts out like a 74. Like he's not automatically the Nick Mangold. You have to develop Nick Mangold to be the Hall of Famer he is. So I highly recommend. I know you're busy, but if you can find some time here and there, man, it is awesome. And doing that drafted bit is even better.
That is like that's now on the top of the list of things I'm going to do in May. Like once the draft, like if I do it right now, I won't get to any of my draft work. Like I know that for a fact. So I have to get through my draft work. After that, that's like on the list. Like I've like May is my month. Like May hits and I can finally breathe. That is going to be because I do that like that first week of May. I do some draft work to kind of wrap up the whole season.
Yeah,
and then I put the pen down for a bit so I can relax. And I end up going I have so much free time now to do shit. So I end up texting you. I text all my friends I don't see. I'm like, hey, let's get a beer. I haven't seen you in 6 months. I'm gonna tell my friends, sorry, no beer this year. Madden Rewind League. That's what I'm doing.
I'm not even kidding you, Matt. We would start playing at 10 p.m. and I would get off of PS5 at 2:30, 3 in the morning. And these are people I'm playing with people in New York. So they're playing an hour past me, and then Jesse's in California, so he's 2 hours behind. And he's always like, why are we getting off so early? And I'm like, relax.
Jesse can't do fucking time zones.
Yeah, no, way over his head. But it's hysterical, but it's awesome. We do 2 NFC, 2 AFC in the same division. And it's so awesome. But yeah. In May,
that's fucking incredible. That's incredible. All right, well, that's gonna be something I check out. Fuck, it's 1:43 in the morning right now. I kind of want to do it.
I'm telling you,
I'm so tired. But
and for the listeners out there, if you have some free time on your hands, get Madden. And I'm telling you, Madden has been horrible the last few years. Sorry, EA, but
no, you're right. It's bad.
It's made it so much more fun.
Right, because I feel like that's part of the problem with franchise load is by the time you get to year 2, year 3, you're you're already out of the immersion of it. You're all right, it's you're getting a bunch of players you don't know. They're not real players. You're all right, this is whatever. But if you do that, you do the Rewind League, you have fucking 15 years of guys that these guys. You're excited to see what they become. You're excited to rewind hit. Dude, some of my favorite videos ever were the NFL and NFL videos. I forgot who did the voices for that, who did the videos, but that was my favorite shit. It was it'd be just how if one thing changed, how much it would change the NFL over the course of 3 or 4 seasons. And you could do that with this, which is fucking awesome.
No, it's sick. We literally played 24 seasons. And we knew every player for the first 9. Well, technically 20, because this year's draft would be the 20th year. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome. But you do see a trend that you don't realize when, especially when you're, my age, when we were growing up, I started getting to football once 07, 08 hit. Then, because, I was young, but
right.
You don't realize this when you're a kid, how bad some draft classes are. And then you look up the draft class and you're like, oh, God, this
is so bad,
horrible. This is so bad.
Honestly, fucking Madden is good for that, but baseball a rewind baseball league would be.
That's
Where it's at.
Yeah.
That's all right. Well, that was a good way to end the show. That was good.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll be back. We won't be back. Maybe Joe will be back. I don't know. We'll see what Joey's schedule is. I'll be back on Monday Monday's Easter. I'll be back Tuesday. Another mock draft Tuesday. That doesn't feel as good as saying that. Will be our first mock draft in April. We're almost there. Almost to the draft. Joey, thanks for doing this, man. You're the best.
Yeah, Matt, appreciate you having me on, brother.